Since I already talked about all the prototypes and how I use them inside my code, I thought of just making a video where I talked about my whole entire code as a whole. So basically, in this video I'm gonna talk about what everything does inside the code. So to begin with, if we run start, then it pops up with a GUI. So this GUI is kind of all defined here. So I already defined grid pane on the top, but here it kind of like sets up the dimensions and everything important for the grid pane. So the set padding and then U and sets are basically the pixels, how many pixels in between the top. So kind of like the margins inside the entire GUI. And then the max height is and max width is basically the grid pane. Since a grid pane has grid coordinates, then the max height shows like what's the max amount of coordinates for each thing. Then the h gap is what's the dimensions inside of a grid pane, and then these are all adding like buttons and text fields that I used. Then finally it sets the title, so the title's here as typing test, and then it just kind of shows the scene. So now that we got that out of the way, we can talk about what my code actually does. So as you can see, this variable is name is set to true as default. So that means when I type in my name, um, no, what's called Louis is, or Louis sausage. So so when his name is set to true, then the program knows that the next thing you're going to input is going to be the name. So what that does is, so when I hit enter, so on input.setAction, which is the enter key, then it sets the name as whatever is inside this text field. And then after that, it says is name is equal to false because the next word is not going to be the name. It's going to be what the user is going to input as a word. And then it just goes through this whole process of getting a word from the array list of words, a random word with math.random, removing that word from the array list because we don't want that to come up again, and then setting that word in the display here, and then clearing this text field and starting the stopwatch. So if I hit enter, then I have to type in these words: usage, funky, pylos. But for example, I ran out of time here. So so basically, what happened was, it goes every time you hit enter, it goes through this if statements. So if the lapse time is greater than 2 seconds, which was what happened right now, then then the display sets the text as you ran out of time. You can't edit this text field anymore because that just creates a lot of problems. So that's the set editable is equal to false, and then it basically creates a new the writer object in which it writes your score and your name to the text file. So, and this is basically what the same thing happens if you get the word wrong. It would do the same thing, except instead of saying you ran out of time, it just says you input like you wrong. But if you do get the word right, as seen when I typed in like cookie, I think, then it just goes through the whole process of just adding another word. So from here, now that you kind of, I guess, lost from the game, you can print leaderboard. So this leaderboard prints out every user that used it, and it actually prints it out in sorted order from least or greatest to least to greatest to smallest. So what this actually did was I have a button called print leaderboard, and so this reads the text file. This reads the leaderboard text file, and so first it checks that it's not like empty, and if it is empty, then it says leaderboard is clear. And so so first we have to make sure that the leaderboard that this list. So this is what this actually prints is not actually reading directly from the text file. It's actually going through a list first. This is actually printing out a list. So first this clears the entire list because sometimes it just creates bugs if you don't clear it first. But then while line is not equal to null, then line is like each line in this leaderboard. Then it adds it to the list. Then it adds that line to the leaderboard list. then it like sets the line as the next iteration, like as the next one below it. Um, so then after that, it closes that, and then so now we have a leaderboard list of all the leaderboard objects. And after that, we use the collections.sort to sort this leaderboard list in order of greatest to smallest. And so that's collections.reverse order. And then um, if the size is not equal to 0, because we have to make sure, again, if the leaderboard is clear, it wouldn't make sense to print out all this leaderboard stuff. So if the size is not equal to 0, then it prints out leaderboard, and then, so as you can see here, then it runs a for each loop of every element in the leaderboard list and prints it out. And then after that, there's the clear button. So if you hit the clear leaderboard, then what this does is just rewrites this entire leaderboard as like clear, like it clears the entire thing because it's not appending to it. It's just rewriting the entire thing. So now if we so since the size is 0, so if we do print it again, then it says leaderboard is clear because we had that if statement that said if it's null, then you do leaderboard is clear. So yeah, that's kind of basically my entire code. Oh, and then there's also the stopwatch class, which is not really that important, but I guess it's important to show. So this is the stopwatch class to check how many seconds it is. So yeah, that's practically my entire project.